you're anything like me, you probably played Cops and Robbers as a kid, running around with your index finger, shooting invisible but instantly lethal bullets into your friends. Most of us grew out of it, but the folks at Real Time Worlds haven't, and APB, which stands for All Points Bulletin, is their attempt to bring the classic schoolyard game to the adult masses. APB is, at its core, a shooter. It's a game of criminals versus enforcers in a havoc-filled city. If you're looking for a story, you're not going to find one here, because as soon as you're through the tutorial, you're basically randomly thrown against groups of opponents and told to go at it. But is this long-awaited game a masterpiece or a misfire?
Santaro, your city and it needs your help. That's what the City Security Act is all about. Giving us the power to become enforcers and defend our city.
Real Time Worlds has, from the very beginning, boasted about the strength of their customization options, and they were not bluffing. From your standard character creation options to tattoos, muscularity, scars, makeup, and more, there's a lot you can do here. Then there's the car editor, where you can swap out parts, paint the car, and apply decals. Then you can make your own kill song, and screw around in the wardrobe, where you can further customize each item of clothing. The player characters are beautifully rendered, although even on an extremely high-speed connection, they can take a while to load. The non-player city dwellers are uglier, and the city itself looks pretty plain while you're running through it, though the city's landmarks provide useful navigational checkpoints as you're hauling ass through the chaotic streets. APB's strongest points are also its subtlest. Matchmaking usually does a really good job of putting together a fair fight by using threat levels, and the server tends to send you to interesting locations and give both teams enough time to reach the target. The city, for all its plainness, is exceptionally well designed from a shooter perspective. There are very few locations where a team can hole up indefinitely. There's generally always a way to sneak up on your enemy. Matchmaking does sometimes hiccup. If you've called for backup and everyone else is currently busy, then you may be stuck in a 1 versus 4. That tends to be less than pleasant. But it's not really anyone's fault, and even if you lose, you'll be rewarded with a generous wad of cash. Character advancement takes the form of reputation games. Each reputation level unlocks new weapons, gear, and character, car, or weapon upgrades. The difference between a highly geared player and a new one is pretty large, but not insurmountable. Unfortunately, gear doesn't factor into matchmaking, so there's always a chance that you could be up against some very strong opponents with intentionally low threat levels. I personally had more fun playing as an enforcer than a criminal. Chasing down a lawbreaker was more exhilarating when I had to duck and dodge between pedestrians than when I could just mow them down with a big truck. Even so, the game lacks content. With only 2 action maps and just a few mission types for both criminals and enforcers, the fun begins to peter out after about 20 hours, and you're left wondering if there's anything else worth doing in Samparo. If you're hoping for an endlessly fun game of Cops and Robbers, you may find APB too short-lived. For all its wonderful work behind the scenes, the playground is simply too limited. But if you're the kind of person who can play the same Counter-Strike map for hours and hours, and you can justify paying for extra game time, then Samparo could be your new home. For more on APB, read our review at IGN.com.